Setting this up here for a full moon stream in Pisces. We're a little late here. Get my microphone set up. Let's get into some current events. See the latest thing we got with the Queen going. Let's make this a little better here. So getting into the Queen. I hope this is on. This looks like it's on. Okay, cool. So as I show the ace card getting into this, we know the Queen is the Q card. We know we're dealing with cards. We're dealing with movement and how they take on different meanings by the hands. So there's a lot that I want to get into, but breaking down these codes and frequencies, a lot of what we're doing is playing with words, symbols, and symbiotics. Use our intuition, and not it's like programs that are running in our head, but when we can see the symbiotics, we can start to decode stuff. And we're told that our birth started in the beginning from Adam and Eve, the story. Looking for my markers here so I can get rocking with this. And we're told about Noah's Ark. And we all have all these weird symbols and stories. So anyway, when we talk about Noah, when we look at letters, right? So it was Noah Webster who created the dictionary, which became Merriam Webster's dictionary. So we're given this character named Noah Webster. But in the Bible, there was Mount Ararat, right? And it was like a rainbow was the sign of peace. Anyway, so we're getting into light. We're getting into frequencies. So we're getting into symbols here. So we're getting into sounds. And we're also looking at how things line up and break things down, how we can decode here. Also in numbers. So we know like on a football field, the QB is the queen bee that makes all the moves, right? And then on both sides, we have these goalposts, which are two H's. The Pope's cross is two things like that too. So when we play a game, we're playing with numbers. So everything starts off with a beat. I'm probably going to get some of my notes here to save my time with writing. Because freestyle and I'm going through a lot of stuff, but I could decode anything here with what I'm getting into. So when we open our mouth, the first part of speaking is ah, for a breath. So we learn these programs with these sounds, and we speak with sounds to convey intention or descriptions. But so check this out. Where did our language come from? So we have all like this basis of our language that supposedly came from a Rosetta Stone, right? So looking at in Semitic, the adjabs, the aleph, abjabs, including Phoenician alep, which is this symbol right here, which we see as sideways A. So here we could also see, we also see feel, we also see left, like the A is to the left. The center is the M and the N. We're dealing with that pulse, that push and that pull. But here with that sideways too, we see that greater than or less than symbol. This gets really deep too. In Hebrew, aleph, which also ties into the N as well. It's kind of like this. Okay, I'm going to save some time with writing here. The first word that begins with A is abrasion. So this is getting an abracadabra. So we know that like in ancient Semitic and ancient, and I think Magyar, a few other languages. So there's like this harmonics dealing with frequency. Cool. So see a left, that's clearly has to do with the A. And we get into the ace, we're dealing with that high card and the low card. Which is also Moses splitting the sea. So we can see that as 1, 3, and 5, as 4 and 5, which is 9, as the high number. I mean, there's different ways of looking at this. When we look at we could also see that pronounced as the K, which is that pause symbol, which the 11 equals 2. So we're dealing with pause and we're dealing with movement. Okay, I'm gonna keep rocking here. So when we say QB, right, we're also saying not only queen B, not only we're saying quarterback, but we're also saying cube. We're also saying cube. Which now when we look at that CU, That's also a 33. It's a 3 and a 21. So we also have that 3. We have that 33 in the B. This gets really deep. But cube. So cube is a 4 letters. And we're dealing with that 336. 2 is 8 and 5 is 13, which is 4. So 4 letters, and we got the 4. It breaks down to 4. 4 sides in a cube. And when they say things like rebuke the devil, it's the re-cube. So it's this cube. So we also see the queen bee having to do with the cube. You see a correlation there. So shit gets really deep here. I don't want to go too much into my notes because I'm all over the place with my notes here. I got a lot of stuff. I'm going to take it to where I left off last time, getting into that T and the K with that tick and the tock. Because when we talk about Noah's Ark and all these stories, we're getting into our omnipresent reality. And we see the LMNO. Centering omniscience. And we know that Christmas is for Jesus. Say the greatest gift is your presence, like right now. Whoa, still going. All right, cool. Thank you for tuning in. All right, so into the omnipresence, which is also the omnipotence. I got to open up the window here. So this is also getting into light and weight. And when we say attention, we're dealing with tension, dealing with that 10. And that shun is that Zion, back to Zion, which is that noise. They say the Mount Zion. So this also has to do with ripple effects. It's got a lot to do. It has to do with a lot. Now that A, like they say, A1 steak sauce. A is the one. She gets really deep because this also gets into that tick and the talk. Because, oh man, I hope you can see this. When you look at the symbols, it's the 2 and the 11. I might have to make this lower. So the T is the 2 and the K is the 11, right? We know that 11 equals 2, but we're also getting to that pause and that movement. But we're also when we look at Jesus on the cross, we see that his legs were tied together. Not tied together, nailed together. Try to stand this up a little better here. All right, I was disconnected. Now I'm back. And I don't know if I'm going to use this. Let's just go without this thing. All right. Now I feel like less shit in my way. So when you get into that TikTok, damn. Yeah, fuck that, Mike. When you look at the T and the K, basically looking at the same symbol. See how the A is the open legs and the 1 is the closed legs? I'm relating this to numbers, like to the patterns. Okay, so we look at the T, and then we look at the K this way. We can see that's open legs and this is closed legs. So this also has to do with Jesus on the cross, how his legs were together as one. So shit's deep. Shit's really deep. Okay. So we're talking about how you can see, not only can you see the cube and the L when we're dealing with the light, when we're dealing with the light and the dark. When we look at the 13s in the center, 26 letters, right? 13s to the center with the M and the N. So we're dealing with the force that emanates, the fours that emanate. But this is also could be seen as G force. So we look at the G, we got the 6 and the 7 in that G, which is that 13 as well. So we're looking at that cross. To another way, we're looking at another way of looking at this. Damn. Damn. There's a lot of ways of looking at this. Shit. I think I lost myself for a second on the 13s. So with the 13s, we're looking towards the center with the 13s. Damn, I kind of lost myself on that one. Shit was deep. I hope it comes back to me. So freaking deep. Damn. Yeah, so when we look at the 13s, so it used to be the lunar, it used to go by the lunar calendar. This shit's so deep. Damn. So there's 13 new moons, and then there's 13 full moons. This also gets into like why FM radio's on the top and stuff like that. This shit gets really deep. But when we look at the 13 and the 13, damn. So when we look at moon, even when we look at the word moon, if we look at one of them as like a new moon blanked out, we see the word now. Shit's crazy. Just like there's 13 suits. I'm saying that right. 13 and a deck of cards. But you also have that. You got the opposing colors. You got the black and white, like the chessboard. QB, yeah, cue ball. I'm just seeing that right now. Live chat. Tubes, 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 2Bs. The 13s are like tubes. Oh, that's so deep. And you know what? Not only are the two 13s like tubes, it's like, well, we say the M and the N. The M takes on the sound, like we say hymn to sing a hymn, which is high, and then M, and then like a high mountain almost. But when you say that, so you're born in an embryo, you enter an embryo. This shit's really deep too, man. Whoa. Also makes me think about how queen, you get that W sound with queen, like woman and man, but you still have that sound with queen. And it's dealing also with reflections like water. Yeah. But so, what you said about Q? Q the ball. Q is Q. Yeah. Breaking the 8 too. Tubes. Makes me think of study too. Makes me tubes and like study when you flip the P. Like student, study. So anyway, this also gets into names and meaning. Because when we look at how low be thy name, it's high low. How low is high low. Be thy name. So we say mean. Awareness or Anubis. And then they changed the name. The name was A E. AE was the name. You think of EA Sports and all that. The name was AE. So that makes me think of like Baphomet in a sense. Because we also had that Alpha Omega. We got the Alpha Omega. But we also have the letter A. Right? So we got that A. Like that A, which is also the seesaw right here. You got this this seesaw. So this seesaw has to do with vibration, because everything is like a composite. Anything we call material or whatever, that's our composites. We're saying pause it, pause. Shit is deep. This shit is so deep. If something leaves something behind, it's called a deposit, like a deposit. We deposit money in a bank. Shit gets deep. But okay, so basically you saw what was. We're dealing with the past, and C is right now. There's a lot of ways of looking at this, because when you split the C, we also get the S, like the separate, 7. We're changing like direction here, and we split the C. You know, it's another way of looking at those hands split in the yin yang. But this is also the nail to the cross here. Shit gets really deep. So we know the sea. This gets into you reap what you sow, and damn man, this shit's so deep. But when we say amen, that's what do you mean when you say amen? So when you say that, it's like you say a prayer. So when you say a prayer, prayers really prepare. You know what I mean? So when you pray, you're saying prepare. Or this pain, and it could be like a victim or victim mindset, but we have like we're dealing with energy. Shit is deep. But when we get into meaning, sometimes I wonder like what is it when things give meaning to us? Like when things speak to you. So then we're dealing with premonition, which is pre. Mon is also. Ishun is noise, like we can see Zion or whatever. So pre now. And we could also see that as red. Red has to do with propulsion. It has to do with the where it has to do with the start. Red chakra. But the difference between red and reed, it's interesting that red and reed is both spelled with an EA. And then, you could also spell that with a lowercase d. And that could also be a B. So then we could also see bear. But they say show your true colors. So an interesting thing about red is it's a way you can also read people if you have like consents colors, because in the chakras, it's the only one that passes through all the other colors. So the shit's deep. I mean, but then it also depends, these has to do with like seesaw, depending which way you lean in on the angles for meaning and stuff like that. So there's a part where you're kind of leaning in on numbers and angles, and there's a part where kind of things just pop out at you too. So get into this here. So we're talking about lowered. Lowered is to low. Lowered, so that also makes me think a dollar too, because when we say Lord, like we talked about the other night, so if we say dollar and Lord, we're also dealing with that lowered. also makes me think of low, so I got to get into some of my symbols here. But when we get into current events, so we're dealing with currents. So this also gets into Moses turning like the water red and all that, because just watching Alice in Wonderland where everything's turned red. It's also past tense. To me, this also looks like programs, because we think about programs now, not that programs have been going on for like ever in just different forms, and it's crazy. But this is like cracking programs and just trying and cutting through this stuff. I mean, awesome. But damn, I see so many things right there. I see so many things. You can even see 10 road. Hang on one second. So when we look at the ace 2 being a high card and low card, shit, this shit's so deep. Let me pull my images. We see the little we see the little spaceman in the ace hardware. And see that it's like a cup. We see that little M symbol. It's also using that for the face mask. It's interesting they're using blue too on that one. And you can see the upside down, the low card. So we're always using that triangle. Okay, now when we look at like the Mazda symbol, this makes me think about the switching of the queen to the king right now, because they've got the MA and the DA, with AM, the ma and dad, the mother and the matriarch and the father, and they see the Z, it's like that folding over. So another interesting thing too, yeah, is that the M is over the center of the D. So I'm gonna get into that right now. We look at the word wizard, Dabra. And man, what was the name of the town there? So that was in Nottingham. I believe that was Nottingham too. It gets into knots, tying and untying knots. So reap what you sow. And so this is basically tying in frequencies. So I want to keep it on point here. I don't get too lost in the sauce. I'm going to put some of this stuff on my presentations, when I get more into my notes and stuff like this, because I got a lot of stuff that gets into some pretty deep stuff, dealing with angles and colors. See, we'll check my comments here. We got any fire? Okay. Lord, the O is 15 or IS. Hang on. That's right. It's backwards in the middle of the word. Live or die. Yeah, that's sharp. Also see door lock, like door lock, and it's interesting that warlock is like a Masonic term, doesn't really mean a male witch. I got to think about that one. You just said 12 is L. Oh. I think I got to back this up here so you can see more of the board here. Oh my God, it's way better. All right, let's do it like this. Okay. I don't want to get too all over the place here, but with the abracadabra, I got a lot of notes. Okay, so we look at the right, left. This we read from left to right, and then we go back this way, and then we go back this way. So we do this Z pattern when we're kind of like downloading information, almost like Z for sleep. But when we the other way was from right to left. It's like this. It's interesting that the earliest form of the alphabet, the numbers, was also they counted in stacks. Like, so literally bundles. So they would do it by fives. I know I've done this before, but I'm just gonna point this out here too. So, and we look at that too. Not only do we a fire, so I see, but they counted with sticks. And so when we say stick, not only do we say sticks, hey, like if something sticks, that makes sense, that sticks. So blah, 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 making sounds, but hey, I get what you're saying, that sticks. So also when we say sticks, we're also saying ticks. And when they're acting, when actors perform, they're filming, they're doing skits. It's like an ebb and flow. Okay, I don't want to get too lost on that one, but it's also a cot. You sleep on a cot. COT. Keep rocking here. So gets into a lot of shit. It makes me think about coat and when you add the N in there, you get instinct. This shit is really deep. So we look at this movement, like the A and the M. You know, Jesus, his legs are together. Which makes me think of thought. But it's interesting. It's also could look at that AD. Well, we look at the two thieves. Okay, we're looking at the seesaw here, right? We look at that as card. Brock is card. Different ways of looking at this. But anyway, we see the seed. We see CD. Shit. Like on both shoulders. And then we have Abra and Abra. Yeah, that's what's up. So you got Abra and Abra. Just like that rib with the M and the N. Keeps fading away here. So just like that rib with the M and the N. The only difference with the C and the 1. Which also looks like an L. Can be looked at as light. Can be looked at as wand. So with the Abra, shit's really deep. Because even in the B and the R, the only difference you see is that one. And then you got the two symmetrical A's. We got any more comments here? Keep dropping them. All right, so the Abra, the only word that starts with Abra is abrasion. And when we say AB, like absolutely, when we say AB, this is crazy. was reading about Noah Webster. Read up about Noah Webster. Google Noah Webster. Uh, he was all about abolishment and stuff. It's crazy. So anyway. Let's throw back in right here. Shit's really deep. So look at Abra. There's also, we look at the sounds. The E can also take a sound as the A. Anyway, I'm getting a little tired. I think I'm gonna keep rocking here a little bit. So it looks like this stream may have been fading in and out, but I hope I got some of this down here. I want to get on some of my notes here. This shit is really deep. So, okay, keep rocking. So when we look into that first symbol of Aleph, the A is a left. We're dealing with left. We're dealing with that sideways A. That we're using today. We're also seeing that as Adam, but we also see that in the letter A. There's that one right there, which is, we could look at that as a dam, like that's a dam, like a wall. It's interesting in the military, when you leave, they call it a wall, like a wall. It's also interesting that the first deity, Anubis, was called A-E, just like Adam and Eve. In our other history channel was the A-E network. You can see the symbology. So yeah, so we're dealing with so the Nephilim. I was talking about football earlier. So we also see N, Fel, M. So we're dealing with from the center. It's interesting to say man walked on the moon. So we're dealing from the center. So we see, let's think about giants for a second. We see something having to do with fallen too. NFL, FLN, NFL, FLN. We're dealing with the fallen. And anyway, we obviously see this has to do with angles. Anytime we're dealing with wedging, so we're dealing with measuring. And we say measure. We also see aim. There's a store called Ames. And then we see sure. So you want to be sure of where you're aiming. We measure. We see the measure. We also call it a measuring stick, and A is also 1. So let's get to the Willy Wonka. Now Willy Wonka is also Noah. And when I'm getting my notes together here, I'm going to definitely do a presentation where I can pause and go. Because I don't want to go half-ass on some of these things. I got like some symbology here. But when we get into the Wizard of Oz, we're going to get more into that one here. So the Wizard of Oz, let's time back into the moon. We're dealing with weight. When we're dealing OZ, we're dealing with weight. We're dealing with light, just like breathing O2, oxygen. And you know, like the waters above and waters below, we're dealing with H2O. Back to those H's. So we see game, we see G, and then we see aim. And we know a magician is a mage. So when we see the letter G, we can see that's obviously an arrow, right? An arrow. And then we see the letter A. I mean, we see the word aim. Along with the aiming arrow. Damn, we tuning it in yet, but someone's gonna see this. Let's see, gamble. So we know Alpha Omega, we're getting into the play game with Alpha Omega. So the A is a 1. And that O is damn, that O is a 0. So we're back to that 10 at the center. But another way of looking at that is the 6, like the 1 and the 6. Like into the Mad Hatter's hat with a 10 and the 6. Possibly. That's crazy. Shit's really deep. But obviously we get into that keyhole too. So one way of looking at that is the A or the sideways L with that keyhole. Keyhole makes me think of, like, if you're bad, you get coal. You get coal from Santa Claus. I don't know, it's crazy. When we think of like chimney, you know, chi is dealing with that energy. And then we got that M in the end, and then we got the I. I don't know, something to do with that. Oh, shit is deep. Shit gets really deep here. Because, oh my God. So speaking of that right and the left and the reap what you sow. So when they say the saints, when the saints come marching in, I'm repeating this. See, I want to be in that number. So saints is also Satan. Satin. Satin is made from a weaving process. It's interesting that weave is also view. You can see it as view. You can see it as view. You can see it like that. But it's also a wave. We're also dealing with waves. We're waving with high and low frequencies of waving. Because we can see Saturn is also Satan, and we also be put together as one S. It still sounds the same. So shit's really deep. So it's also really deep too that the first Sphinx was in Tanis, which was the southern part of Africa, right? That's also where we see Satan and saints. But also too, when we look at words like Serapis, and then we see the word praise, like praise Jesus, we see praise in Serapis. We say praise with like 2 S's. So it's easy to decode a lot of this stuff. Like when we start seeing how words connect things. To lead the game, the ME has to be. Hang on, let me see what you're saying. Let M is being turned to the left to leave the game. You can see wage too. Well, the thing about me is M as well. So me is also EM, which is M. Um, hmm. I think the part of the game is to play, to play the game, because then we're also getting into things like form and function. So like in 4, we see 4M, which is also sounds like forum, which has to do with like work, right? Well, form, we do form, and then we do function. We see for fun. Action is noise, or like a connection. So we're dealing with form and function. So then we also see morph. We see morph like Morpheus. And form. Metamorphosis is a butterfly, caterpillar turning into a butterfly's metamorphosis. So it's interesting to, damn, so many things. You know, there's something to do with the color blue that's being used, because blue has to do with communication, and the color of the rainbow, when it's one taken away, it's like the indigo. I'm fading out a little bit, but this is Moon Epiphanies, Pisces Moon, which is like the dreamer. I feel like sleeping. I want to get into some of these notes here. So, getting back into that money, I'll leave it at this one too. So when we say Eden, we could look at this as needle. This could be a needle, which is also to knead, or like to knead, like say to knead a dough ball.